Hi, the Hard Times guy. Today we're just going to have a chat. I'm going to talk to you about something I know a little bit about. For those of you that don't know, I have 3 daughters. Betty and I never had any boys. We had 3 girls. So I know a little something about being the dad of a girl. And I'm going to talk to you from the perspective of a father who has daughters. This won't be what daughters might think, but I hope it would be what daughters might think. This won't be what granddaughters might think, but I hope they can see in it something that they should think about. And of course, if you're a dad with little girls or big girls, you can tell me what you think in the comments, or if we think alike, or if I'm way off base somewhere. And the whole point of this exercise is to talk about men who, of course, start out as boys, and to talk about family structure. And let me say to begin with that if you're real woke or really into the feminist movement, you're not going to like what this dad has to say about what he thinks about his little girls and that grew up to be young women and now mature women and living their own lives. Some of what I'm going to say you may not agree with. So if that's the way it is, you can sit there and listen and not agree and yell at me or on the screen, or you can just turn this off now. My views are, I don't want to call them old-fashioned because I think they're contemporary no matter how old you are. I think my views are what I think the views should be about this subject. But a dad, a father of daughters, has a vested interest in the kind of man that his daughter has around her. As little children, as teenagers, as young women, and again, you're going to get some of this old-fashioned stuff. I think women are women. They're born women with women's equipment. Men are men. They're born men they're born male with male equipment. And I don't care what they think, they can't change that. That's a biological fact. If you have trouble with that, then you got trouble with me. That's where we're going to start. And I think that the family structure begins with a couple. And one of them's a woman, and one of them's a man. They are the beginning of every family. Or should be, in my view. You got trouble with that? You just got trouble with me. I'm not apologizing for believing that. And I think that both men and women have responsibilities in the relationship that becomes hopefully a marriage and evolves into a family. But today mostly I'm going to talk about the men and their role. I think a man should be a man. I think a man should be responsible for his family. I think part of that responsibility is providing adequate income and guidance and direction so that that family can have a good life in pursuit of their happiness. I really believe that although a marriage is a partnership and the woman has responsibilities too, and they share responsibilities and they work together as a team. In fact, the Bible says they become one, and I think that's true. I think they become one unit. The unit that forms and heads the family. But they may have different roles, and I think that the man's role is provider and protector first and foremost. In our relationship, my wife and I have managed to share those roles successfully, and I give her the credit for a lot of. When I was a young man, had I been my father-in-law looking at me, I would have thought, man, I don't know about this guy. What I do know about him, there's things I don't like. So that's going to happen too. And of course, everybody can change. And I did. And praise God, my wife was a big part of that. Her patience and her love for me and her knowing what she wanted for us and our family and her determination to have it has a lot to do with us being best friends and lovers now after 57 years of marriage. I digress. I want to talk about men. I got 3 daughters. I've already said that. I have also 3 sons-in-laws. And I got 3 good ones. They're all different. In fact, they're vastly different, all 3 of them. And so if I said this is a perfect son-in-law, none of them would all meet the same requirements because they're all so different. But they do all meet the requirements of being men and of being husbands and of being sons-in-law and of being that person who makes my little girl happy. Back in one of the first of these Sunday morning videos, and this is going to be one, back in one of the first of them, maybe the first one, I read, took that writing that I made years ago down from the wall and brought it over here and read it to you. And in there it talks about my creed: play hard, work diligently, love unconditionally. But while I'm talking about that in there, I talk about some advice that I may have given, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of that advice today too. One of the things I talked about, or one of the things I mentioned, was don't choose your life mate. Pick out the one that you want to love and cherish and have a family with and spend the rest of your life with. Don't pick that person out in the dim light of a bar. Not just the dim light of the bar, but the atmosphere of the bar and why you went to the bar and what you're doing at the bar. Because none of those things are good for making high-level decisions like that. I'm going to digress just a little bit. My coffee cup. See what that says? I love the USA. When I was a young man, I used to frequent bars. And one particular one that I frequented had an area that they referred to as the round table. And they referred to it as the round table because in the corner, in the back part of this bar, was a large round table. I think probably at least 10, maybe 12 chairs could fit around that table. It was a big one. And during the week, Monday through Friday, after work, for most of these people that happened at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. Some of them latecomers were maybe didn't get off till 5 o'clock. These people would go, they would stop at the bar on the way home. Some of them every day. The main, King Arthur and his knights, his top supporters and cohorts and partners in crime, whatever. They were there about every day. Some of the rest of us, I didn't go every day, but I tried to get down there 2 or 3 times a week. For a little while anyway. Because that's where you went to get information about all kinds of things. Anything that you could think of was discussed there. And not only was it discussed, there was an expert there on any subject you wanted to bring up. You could get an expert opinion about whatever it was. And most of the time it had to do with sports or gambling or drinking or women and any number of other things that guys sit around and drink and talk about. Now, I might mention that this table was predominantly occupied by men. Occasionally there might be a woman there, but most of the people at the round table were men. Wise men. Experienced men. And by experienced, I mean, for instance, if you wanted to know, say you went to the round table and you're having trouble, you're drinking doubles today and you got something on your mind, and that something on your mind is the woman in your life giving you a hard time about something. Or maybe you're even at the point where you've been at odds with her for a while, and the two of you aren't getting along at all. And you can't get her to come around to your way of thinking, and so you need some help, some advice about what to do with this crazy woman that's lost her mind, that's not what you thought she was when you started, that she needs some adjustment. And so you would go and you would sit at the round table and you'd bring this up, and of course there was varying different experts there, but the main expert, the main guy's name was Larry. He knew everything about women. He'd had vast experience with women. He'd been married 6 times and lived with 3 or 4 different other women for long periods of time that he wasn't married to. In fact, he was married. His second wife and his 4th wife were the same woman, and his 3rd wife was her sister. He got married once, he got married the second time, he divorced her, married her sister, divorced her, married her again. That was how he started out. So this guy There wasn't nothing about women that he didn't know. And there wasn't nothing about women that he wasn't proud to tell you about. So he was there to give you any kind of advice you needed. He knew all about getting these women straightened out. He'd straightened out plenty of them. I'm going to quit talking about the round table. I just brought it up. This was in early 1970s. Been going on for several years before that. Went on for several years after that. Not with me, always. Wasn't too long after that. I found better things to do with my time. But with people. People did that. If that sounds like something that you are familiar with today, it is. In fact, it's just exactly what's going on today in social media. People who don't know crap about what they're talking about can gain the floor, get your attention, talk about anything they want to as if they're an expert, and give you advice about what to do about what it is you're talking about on Facebook or in a Twitter account or other kinds of social media that we have today. The same thing, somebody, and most of these guys that started these social media accounts are young guys. I don't know how they had that connection back to 1965, 1970, 1975. I don't know how they knew about that and about how people sat around and listened to other dumbasses espouse their views as if they were an expert and left there and went and did the things that they were told to do. I don't know how that they saw that and recognized that there was still a need for that today and they could do it, and so they invented Facebook and other things like that. But it was they had a brilliant idea. But it's the same thing. A bunch of morons talking about anything and everything, and a bunch of other morons listening to them and thinking they're getting good advice. I went on a rant. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to talk about a young man and what a woman should look for in a young man. And I was going to do that because I got granddaughters who haven't got a clue. I got granddaughters who belittle themselves, shortchange themselves, listen to these morons and think they're getting wisdom when all they're getting is junk. Look at these morons that are running their mouth and thinking that they're some kind of a hero or an expert or what they need in life or what they're missing. I said this the other day in a video, and I'm talking now to young ladies. You, whoever you are wonderfully made. And you, whoever you are, deserve the best life has to give you. And whether or not you are successful in that pursuit of your happiness depends on what you do, the choices you make. And one of the biggest ones that you're going to make is, if you're prone to think you've got to have a man in your life to prove that you're bona fide, that you're worthy, that you're whatever it is that you're trying to prove or validate to people, you need to have a plan, and you need to understand what this man's supposed to look like, what kind of character he's supposed to have, what his role is, what he's supposed to do, what you expect of him, what you want him to look like to your children if you have children, what you want him to look like to to your children if you don't have children but you're planning on having children with him? Is he a role model for the children that you have or want to have? Does he meet this predetermined standard, this plan, this? No. Instead, you think that you get out there and accidentally find this guy and fall in love with him. And then, if he isn't what he should be, that it's your responsibility to change the loser into something else. I had some notes. Haven't looked at them. Missed most of them. Got emotional about any of them that I might have touched. And I got way off base in this video. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to throw this stuff away because it's going to be this video, because I haven't said anything I regret saying. Haven't said anything that I feel like is the wrong thing to say. I haven't done unemotional, thorough sales job preventing you from making mistakes and asking you to assimilate information and evaluate it rationally and calmly like I intended to. But maybe we'll get to that somewhere down the road. Let's go back to, you're wonderfully made. You deserve way more than you're settling for. And you need to decide what that is that you want, what that is that is right for you, what that is that happens in your life, and then ask yourself, do I need the baggage that this person brings? Do I need, with the load I got, with what I'm dealing with what I'm trying to accomplish, with the meager means that I have to accomplish it, do I need to have to drag this moron along with me? Because he ain't contributing nothing. He's dragging me down more often than anything else. And when we get ready to make real life decisions about a home that we're wanting, or a future that we're planning for, he's got way more liabilities than he's got attributes to bring to the equation that we have. That's what I want you to think about. I want you to rethink your plan. We're going to talk about a plan pretty soon. I'm going to say this about a plan. You got to have a plan. A plan is vitally important. If you don't have a plan, then you have no idea where you're going. So even if you've got a plan and it's a terrible plan, it stinks, it's awful, it's bad, it's better than no plan, because it will soon reveal to you that it wasn't a good plan. And you can start altering it and changing it and tweaking it until you have a good plan. There I go again. Come back next week and try this again. I'm a Hard Times Guy. Until then, have a nice day.